It's the most wonderful time of the year. So awkward. I apologize. I just had to do it, friends. I do it every single year, so why not this year, right? Hourglass truly kicks off the holiday makeup releases. It is special every single year. It is a little bittersweet, I'm not gonna lie, because every time Hourglass holiday palettes are here, I feel like it's Christmas all over again. So today we have a palette to play with, which is this little one right here. I've picked up the medium. We're gonna compare to last year's palette. We'll apply, we'll swatch, all that jazz. If you are excited too and you love makeup releases, go ahead and click down there where it says subscribe, and also come to my other socials for a little bit more beauty. And without further ado, let's begin. This year I decided to go with the medium shade. We will talk about every single shade inside, we'll swatch, we'll compare to last year's, of course, the medium and the deep, just in case you're curious. And yes, I'm excited. This year we have these palettes to choose from. I wanted to pick up the deep as well, but I wanted the horse outer casing, and at the time I purchased this one, the horse was not an option to customize, so I was stuck. I really wanted the horse. To be honest, maybe an unpopular opinion, I don't love the fox or the other one. So I only liked this one. I felt like it was very classy, very pretty. I love, love, love the combination of the flowers with, you know, the swan in there. I find it to be stunning, and for some reason, like, swans to me it just reminds me of like a mommy, like a protector, you know, and I love that. That's me. Call me Swan. Jokes. Anyway, besides that, I also love the horse, as I mentioned, but it was not available. So at the time we are filming this, the horse is available, but I'm already like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna wait another week to make this video. I'm not sure I'll pick it up, I'll be honest, because usually by the time I try one, I'm okay and I just move on. But who knows? Maybe I will. So let's take a first look into the palette, and this is what we see inside. In the Swan palette, we are gonna find a finishing powder in this shade Dim Light. We're gonna get a highlighter in the shade Golden Hour. Then we have the bronzer in Bronzer Natural Bronze, which is a re-release from the Evil Eye palette from last year. So I guess that one is gonna be here. This is my medium shade. I decided to put my medium palette into the Lotus, even though the Lotus was meant to be the deep, so let's not get confused. So we are going to see the same bronzer in the medium from last year into the medium of this year. Then we are getting three blushes. We get Coral, which is meant to be a new one. We get a Sunset Flush, which is also a new shade, and then we get Mauve Fusion, which is also a new shade. So pretty much the whole palette is meant to be new, except Dim Light and except the bronzer, which was released last year. They look like very, very pretty shades. Very pretty shades. I like it. I went ahead and set in my base because I feel like I needed to be a little bit more well set before we start. And we are going to begin with probably the finishing powder. I know the finishing powder is meant to be at the end, but I usually like to use this as a canvas just for my makeup because I feel like the powder is very pretty and filtery, and then I use it towards the end to like buff everything together. So that one was Dim Light. Now on this side we will apply the medium shade from last year. So I'm gonna do the same with the finishing powder. Same brush, no biggie. Oh, I don't think I put them side by side, which I should have. So this is medium from last year, this is medium from this year. I repeat, we have the same bronzer in both of the palettes, but everything else is different. In medium from last year, we have Soft Light as a finishing powder, and this one is Dim Light, which Dim Light is my favorite, so she's winning. And then you can see that the blushes are a little bit similar, but not quite. We had this powder here, which was very light. It was like a, you know, like a highlighter, and we get the same one here. So we will swatch them side by side. The coral shades look a little similar, but then definitely the berries are not the same. So let's go ahead and start with the bronzer. And my favorite brush, I've mentioned these to apply these powders, is 19. And yesterday, for the life of me, I could not find it. I was looking everywhere for this brush because I wanted to wash it, but it's okay. We're just gonna wing it. I really like this brush for these powders, so we are going to have to do. So let's apply the bronzer so you can see what this looks like. Okay, I actually went ahead and picked up my hair a little bit more so that we can see better. And this is a beautiful bronzer shade. I loved it last year, I remember, because it is very much neutral on my complexion. I feel like it really bronzes and contours. Like, can you see the nose before and after? I really like it. I enjoyed this shade quite a bit. And as usual, powders are soft and very pretty. They are always buildable. So there we go. Beautiful. It has a natural finish. It's not a complete matte shade, but it looks very, very pretty. Now we are getting the same exact shade in last year's, so I am going to take it with the same brush. Sorry if I'm blinding you, so just picking up. And I feel like this is the perfect bronzer for medium complexions. Like, when Hourglass say this is tailored to medium complexions, they really mean it. I feel like they really test the best powders for medium complexion, because every time I purchase these palettes, when I get the medium, I love it. I know I don't necessarily ever love the light or the deep, you know what I mean? So this is the bronzer in both palettes. It is the same. Moving on to blush. So now we have two options for blushes. I feel like I want to show you the coral. And as I show you in the swatch, the coral is quite bright. So I think I'm going to put it just here in the apples, so you can see. And then we put the berry towards the end. And I'm going to build up a little bit. And this is a pretty shade. You can see that it's very natural, it's very pretty. Just applying very little product. I feel like it is pigmented, but sometimes in videos you know, like if I over apply it, I tend to look clowny, and I don't intend to do that today. So here we go. Beautiful shade. Now we're gonna apply the medium coral shade from last year. And we're gonna do the same. We're gonna apply it right here. And I feel like these are very similar. We'll see how they applied on. Maybe this one is a little brighter, but we'll swatch it to just confirm 100%. But, you know, can you really tell that they're two different coral shades? I don't know. I don't really know. So there you have it. Now we'll keep this brush. This is from Referal. We'll keep her to the medium old palette, and we'll do this one for the new one. Now the most exciting shade of the palette, period, is the berry shade. Can you see how yummy that looks? It is beautiful. And she is pigmented. So I'm going to apply it towards the end. Oh, look at that color. Can you see the pop of fuchsia? Lovely. So stunning. OMG. Yes. I hope the light is doing it justice, because I want to apply that berry shade all over my face. All over. So pretty. Love, 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 love. Love. I knew I was gonna love that shade. Look at that. And I feel like the deep shade as well has a berry shade, if I'm not mistaken, that looks stunning. So yes. And this is not a berry shade that is gonna make you look like you got punched in the face, you know, which is always appreciated. Now I am looking at my eyes. We need to do something with our eyes. Let's go with the bronzer. Oh, here. And I'm just gonna apply that to my outer. And bring it a little bit to something very natural and soft. Of course, we will apply the highlighter. I feel like these palettes will give you the softest eye looks ever. They just look like truly effortless. And then I'm just gonna go with my finger into the highlight. Can you see? Like, she is perfect. And even if you want to wet this, I'm pretty sure it'll be stunning. All right, going back to the bronzer, just blending. This is just to have something in our eyes. Perfect. So we'll go into the bronzer. I hope I'm not bothering you that we should have started with the eyes, didn't we? This one, this is the highlighter from last year. That is a little peachy. Oh, that's too peach. Okay, we ended up with two different eye looks, but it's all good. We'll even it out in a minute after we're all done and you can see it all together. I don't feel like last year we got a true highlighter. I guess this one though. Silly me, we should have taken this one. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put it just at top. So now we have this blush, which from last year, right, is really not similar to this year's berry shade, but this is what we have. So I'm just gonna apply it towards the end of my temple. Okay, I feel like this blush makes the palette just a little bit special, I'm not gonna lie. All right, now let's move on to highlighter. So we have two options, like that light that I show you. We could apply it like this as a topper. I'm gonna apply more blush to dim that light down, and I'm gonna apply the finishing powder because that was a lot. So from this year we have these two highlighters right in the middle. So I'm gonna do this one. Just ooh, geez, pretty. This is, it's almost like a blush, but it's a topper. Can you see that? It's very, very pretty. Okay. I see you. I like you a lot. And then this one, we'll do the gold. And the gold is very intense. That was a lot. Yeah, the gold is very intense, so proceed with caution. We do always have our finishing powder to make it all good and cohesive, so that's what we're gonna do. I love Sonia G's buffer brush to really buff everything with this powder here. It truly marries everything together and it makes it one. You see, like the finishing powder is amazing, but the brush is also very good because it just blends everything so seamless. The medium with the light shade. Like this brush is magical. All right, so let me fix up my eyes, my hair, and I'll be all right, friends. And here you have it. This is our completed look. This is what both sides look like with medium palettes from last year's and this year's. I would love to hear what do you think. I mean, flawless always with these powders, right? We can all agree. Flawless always. Right now we need to, we're gonna swatch them side by side. Let's go ahead and do this year's finishing powder. These swatches like that are so awkward, so I'm gonna have to do side by side. I don't know why I feel so awkward swatching sometimes. So these are the two finishing powders. This year's finishing powder I feel like is a little bit more peachy, and last year's I feel like it's a little bit more yellow. I don't know if you can tell, but they all, like, both of them are just going to blend very similar. Like, I don't think it's gonna make a huge difference. If anything, last year is a little bit lighter, so it may give you a little bit more brightening, you know, underneath the eyes if you use it for that. Now we'll do the highlighter. So this is this year's, and let's do highlighter from last year. This year is very gold. Last year has some peachy veining in it, which makes it a little bit more neutral, I guess, or a little bit more not warm, because it's not really warm, just a little bit more peachy. That's the word I was looking for. So it's truly more peachy, I could say. So that's the highlighters. Both do look very similar. Like, I don't know if you can see my eyes. I did mess up because I put the blush under, but like on my eyes you can see how gold this is and how peachy this is, you know, sort of like that idea. We have the same bronzer that we are going to swatch side by side just to triple check. I did feel like they look very similar. So this is the new palette and this is the old palette. Oh, that swatch was weird. Okay, actually, wait a minute. I don't know. Do they look the same? Kinda. I don't know. Maybe they are. It's so hard with these shades, especially with the, you know, the shade names. They have all very similar shade names. Like, they all sound the same. You know, why not make it look all the same? All right, let's move on to blush. We're gonna do the coral shade in the new one and the coral shade in last year's. And in the face, we could tell this year's, it has a lot more sparkles throughout the shade. It has a lot. And last year's, it was actually nothing. It's not sparkly whatsoever, but you can see that last year was brighter. So yes, On the face though, I feel like it looked very similar, so I don't know, I couldn't tell them apart, to be honest. Once applied to the face, I feel like I lost some blush in the apples and I didn't apply to my nose, which is not like me. All right, next up we have the, I guess, the highlighter that is a little peachy. I thought this was a blush, but no, it's not. And then we'll do this one, which is also a highlighter from last year, which is peachy. So they're very similar though. If anything, this year is a little bit more pigmented, I could say, but they're gonna end up being very similar on the face. I couldn't tell them apart when I applied them to my face. So that peachy highlighter, which is stunning for medium complexions, looks the same. Now the biggest difference between the two palettes, of course, is gonna be this little blush right here, right? We have nothing like this in last year's, and this is what's making this palette very special. And we'll do the remaining blush, which is this guy here, beside that one. Let's do it up here because it's the biggest difference. So this is this year's, and this is last year's. So, you know, these don't swatch very good. They are a little bit underwhelming. But here you have it, friends. These are both palette swatch, and you already saw them side by side applied. I would love to hear, what do you think? So let's conclude, friends. In my opinion, these are extremely similar. Very, very, very similar. There's a little bit of tweaks in the undertones and whatnot, but the biggest difference is gotta be this stunning blush in this year's palette that we don't have here. Which, I mean, this is a trending shade. It's been trending for a minute and I love to see it here. I do feel like this blush is super special, so to me the palette is worth it. However, I don't know, friends, like if you already got the medium, from last year, do you really need this year's? I don't think so. It's only the blush what's setting these two apart. So if you already bought this one last year, I don't think you need this year's unless you're dying to have this purple blush, which to me is worth it. I love this palette, both of them. I feel like they're very complete. They all work, like every single shade works for my medium complexion as it should, and I love it. I love the palettes. Something else to point out is in the deep palette we have amethyst haze, which is a little bit of a purple blush. So if you really wanted something different and you already purchased the medium last year, I say go with the deep. Now the problem with the deep in my complexion, I feel like, is gonna be that we have too many bronzy shades. So the finishing powder I cannot use as a finishing powder, so that's going to have to be a bronzer for me. And same for the bronzer. So I have two bronzers in the deep palette for my complexion, right? And if you're lighter than me, then that's how it's gonna be. Period. You're not gonna be able to use the finishing powder as anything else other than bronze. So we have two bronzers. You have to think about it as that. We have two bronzers. So we will have to think about the palette this way. We have two bronzers in the deep palette, and then we have two highlighters and two blushes. Now we get that mauve shade, which is stunning. I'm not sure how similar it is to the medium palette, but we also get that orange in there. And from my prior experiences, I don't like that orange on me. So to me, the medium was the perfect choice. And so much so that now I'm not going back for the deep at all. Like, I'm happy with the medium. I love that berry shade, which I feel like it made the palette just very much stunning and really pop. I cannot wait to use that whole purple blush all over and be happy. But yeah, friends, those are my 2 cents. Let's take a look at Deep's palette from last year, which is this one, compared to medium of this year. And in the Deep last year, you can see we have the center shade, which is a red shade, which is so much trending at the time. So Hourglass really, they know what they're doing. Like, we get a red last year, which is super trending, and now we get that very stunning shade, which is stunning. So yeah, these are them. I've learned my lesson, but because I do content, of course I want to pick up, you know, doesn't matter my shade. But if it was personal preference, the Deep palettes don't work for me all the time. Like, even this highlighter is pretty much like an eyeshadow for me because it's very deep. I cannot use it as a highlighter, so I can only use it as a blush topper or as a little bit of highlight, but not too much, because then it looks like a stripe. It's just too intense. And then I have 2 bronzers, because again, the finishing powder is not a finishing powder for me, it's truly a bronzer. So I have 2 bronzers in the Deep, and then, you know, I guess two blushes, and then 2 highlighters. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on Hourglass in general. If you wanted my opinion, unsolicited, but I'm here to give you all the information so that you could make an informed purchasing decision. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts, friends. Let me know if you're picking any of these palettes up. Let me know what do you think of the comparisons that I just made. Remember that I have an affiliate link in my description box for you to purchase the palette if you want to support. I also have 2 codes that gets you 10% off. I'll write them down in the description box of this video. That's how I purchased mine. I got 10% off. I mean, these, by the way, are higher. The price is higher compared to last year's. So, you know, they keep raising the price. Everything is raising, and so is Hourglass. So that's it, friends. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!